Welcome everyone to Mystic Personas. This will be the back half of your week for April the 2nd, going forward in your Mystic Personas. If you haven't watched the first part of this week, I highly encourage you to do so you can always match the two together from the front to the back. Again, dual path dynamics firing, right? Let's see what the cards have. We're going to draw our core 3 Mystic Personas. Wow, look at that. Oh, that was a drop on my part. Let's pull these out and see where we're going to go here. All right, here we go. The Virtuoso, the Dreamcaster, and the Enchanter. Well, we're off to a good start. So, wow. Well, you know, the Virtuoso is one of the cards that I think is fantastic from the perspective that the Virtuoso is exactly what it sounds like. It's a master creator. I mean, look at the energy, look at the light. You know, look how the Virtuoso brings this beautiful thing that I think is fantastic, and that's really about creation and inspirational. A little bit of a perfectionist, but, you know, we all suffer from that from a certain point of view, don't we? But the Virtuoso, as you can see, pictures excellence and, of course, artistry. And when you put those two together, it really is dual path dynamics coming together, because you have the excellence, which is the part of the drive that you're going to get from, you know, the gladiator line, moving to your ambition, and of course the artistry, which you're pulling in from what it clearly looks like for the rest of this week. We're moving from a fantastic space of what are we telling our story? How are we telling our story? Are we telling it with artistry, or are we just going through the motions and, you know, kind of telling people what we want them to hear? You decide. This is for your observation, right? But one of the things about the Virtuoso is you got to remember that they must balance perfectionism and flexibility. So the collaboration, for faster collaboration and innovation. So as we go to create and we're moving to our message and we want to be perfect, we often, and I don't know if this is for you, if it is, resonates, great. If not, then we move on. But often when we get into this, you know, we want it to be perfect, we actually isolate. We don't listen to other ideas. We pull back, and that perfectionism of the Virtuoso, wanting to be a perfect, you know, virtuoso, wanted to be this perfect thing, but also based in virtues, right? Perfectionism, excellence. I mean, you've seen this all the way back. One of the great cultures, of course, is the samurai, who were always committed to everything they did is excellence. The downside with that is obviously it can lead to an isolationism, and it leads to less collaboration because we're not as open to hear, which will lead us to the Dreamcaster. And I think really this is what's going to be some interesting balancing here, is because the Dreamcaster is, again, another visionary creator. So we're seeing your creation come to the forefront, and it's purposeful. As you can see, the Dreamcaster has purpose, and the Dreamcaster turns dreams into reality with intention. So again, dual path dynamics is firing here on a double here, Seeker. Look at this. We've got perfectionism with, you know, creativity, but still seeks collaboration. We've got the Dreamcaster coming in going, hey, we're going to create some more, and it's going to have purpose to it with our perfectionism. So we've got the double P's going, you know, perfectionism and purpose. Just remember that as the part of our Dreamcasters, we've got to, again, balance practicality through meaningful outcomes. So part of meaningful outcomes is we're bringing the collaboration of this beautiful Virtuoso, this dream that you're building, this vision that you're on, this adventure that you're on. And again, that leads us to the Enchanter, because the Enchanter part of us is going to bring the charismatic, the innovation, the persuasive visionary. We're going to persuade people that we're asking to join our beautiful vision. But we also got to collaborate with them. But we also have to remind that it isn't just collaboration for collaboration's sake. It has an outcome, an experience, an effect, a feeling that we're looking for any one of our creations to impact others, are we not? So just remember, though, when we're in the Enchanter side, we've got to balance authenticity to build trust. So there's a theme that we can already see here. It's very straightforward for coming so far. I think you guys can already see it, is that in our efforts to create, we're doing such a great job, and look at the beautiful creations of what we're creating here. But in our effort, we have to be mindful of our perfectionism, or withdraw to not listen and to collaborate with others, which could bring deeper purpose and meaning to this collaboration as we create our dream, this Virtuoso, as this dream comes to life, and we're enchanting others to be a part of it, this beautiful cast that we're creating, whether that's your company, whether that's your online presence, whether maybe it's even something as simple as a school play. And I say respect to school plays, but nonetheless, something that is just something you're doing to do, but it still has purposeful meaning. It has a beautiful presentation showing the effort and the artistry that's brought into it, and the enchantment to draw everybody together. But remember, the undercurrent of this whole thing is building trust with meaningful outcomes, and of course, collaboration, because at the end of every adventure, We'll always look back at the adventure and we'll tell the story, not just the story itself, but those who journeyed with us, won't we? So this is about us inviting people in through our Enchanter, bringing this beautiful message out, bringing people into the artistry of it to create this dream that you're casting forward and that you want it to be well done and you want to have collaboration with it. And these are things we get to be mindful of, not just in ourselves. Remember, dual path dynamics is both the internal work, but it's also the external reflections of what's going on in your particular world around you. But this is a beautiful theme to start. I love this thing from creation point of view. I love it from collaboration point of view. And again, we're moving from left to right. So this is where we are. This is what we're starting to build. And this is what we're looking for towards the end of the week as we're moving in our future pacing here. So we can see working backwards that our week is going to be about enchanting others to come on these purposeful outcomes that we're creating, this dream that you're creating, this experience, this business, this product, whatever it is you're doing, even if it's just in a relationship of going on a trip with your significant other, without getting locked in too much of the perfection of them, it has to look a certain way, right? It has to be a certain way, as opposed to the collaboration, open ideas, and that will give us deeper meaningful purpose and enchant not only just ourselves, but others to this, both internally and externally. What a great start. And well, as you know, this is just the core of our persona, so it's time to go to the shadow box. Let's see what's going on for the rest of the week over here in our shadows to be mindful of and be aware of. Man, what a great week that looks like. And the irony is coming off here is that, for April 2nd, is we're just coming off of April Fools. So this is a really good place to make sure that we're not fooling ourselves, that we're staying in our groundedness of meaningful outcomes and connections and building trust, not just with ourselves and enchanting ourselves to dream deeper, but also others. Also to create this beautiful virtuoso that you're creating both in the left side of you and the right side of you, your logic and your architecture, as well as your creativity. But again, being mindful that it's collaboration that makes a virtuoso work so well. It's like the conductor. Wow, look at that. That one popped out. So we're gonna go with the Wanderer, the Trickster, and the Marauder. Well, okay, let's get right into it. So the Wanderer, as you can undoubtedly tell, as a part of the shadow realm. Now, the Wanderer drifts without purpose. So here we go. Meaningful connections and meaningful outcomes, which is about purpose with our perfectionism. So if we're wandering without purpose, constantly searching, but never committing, right? They fear the stability and avoid grounding themselves. And of course, this is, right, losing opportunities for, meaningful progress, timed in with, right in here with the Dreamcaster saying the meaningful outcomes. So you can almost look at the Wanderer as a bridge of mindfulness, again, awareness. If we get too much into our perfectionism, we're going to fall into the shadow. We're going to fall into Wanderer. We're going to wander around going, I've got this beautiful experience, this business, this film, this video, this YouTube channel, whatever it is you're doing. And you get into isolation where you're wandering around, but it doesn't feel, you're just getting things done, but it doesn't have a driving purpose. And that's when we can start to feel that feeling of, well, what's it all for? I don't understand it. What's the purpose? Well, who cares? And we start to drop into the Wanderer. It's still the dreamer, but we're wandering around in our own dream. Well, that's fine if that's what you choose, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just be aware that that's what you're choosing, and that will limit our opportunity to collaborate with our perfectionism and our seek to create this beautiful and have this beautiful experience, both internal and external, but also to having meaningful outcomes because we have meaningful progress, meaning that our step-by-step of the perfectionism will help us have these great, beautiful outcomes and purpose as long as we're mindful that we don't drop into the Wanderer, which then brings us to the Trickster. Now, the Trickster is exactly what it sounds like. We're talking definitely from the shadow realm, and the Trickster manipulates through, misdirection, right? Using humor and cunning to control outcomes. They avoid the responsibility by deflecting and confusing others to maintain their upper hand. So if we don't have a meaningful outcome, what are we going to do? We're going to keep directing. We're going to keep throwing the direction. Or what if we did this? Well, I was thinking about that. That was a really good idea, but how about we do it over here? Because the Trickster is really about, not when it says misdirection, but really think about what this is about. This is about not feeling out of control. And the Trickster is fantastic about feeling in control. So ask ourselves and ask yourself, as I'm chasing this dream and I'm seeking to create this experience and I'm putting it all together and I'm not just wandering through my day, how often do I fall into distraction or get myself distracted because, I don't want to take the responsibility. What if the dream fails? What if nobody likes it? What if I end up all alone and I'm just wandering aimlessly? The Trickster will lure ourselves into that misdirection. And we'll use, again, the humor, very similar to the satirist, but very different. This humor here is about controlling outcomes, where the satirist is really about creativity. It's used in a critiquing space, but it is still in the creative realm. Well, the trickster is like, I'm not really creating with your creation here. I'm creating to keep distraction and maintain the upper hand so that nobody finds out what my real dream is, because I know if it had a meaningful outcome, that means I have to commit to that meaningful outcome, which means I'm going to experience that meaningful outcome, which often sometimes we avoid, which is really what the shadow realm is about, is where have we compressed ourselves down and suppressed ourselves down to have the experiences that we really want to have and to have it with others. But maybe we're really afraid of it because, well, we've been judged before, or maybe it didn't turn out the way we wanted it last time. Or maybe we did a bunch of stuff and it never got to fruition. The dream that you were seeking to cast into the world, well, it didn't quite come to fruition. There's a million reasons and more. You'll find it within yourself if you just sit and listen. When the trickster shows up, both internal and external, you can see the distraction and you can constantly keep your eye on the target, whatever that target may be, your outcome, your goal, your experience, your KPI, however you're applying this. Because remember, we're enchanting others. And so as we enchant, the trickster can turn us into where we're distracting, yes, others, and pulling them towards our dream, but where are we really pulling them? Are we asking them to do all the work and then be able to position a place of, well, we're not getting anything done, you guys aren't the right, and we move on, and so they maintain the upper hand of control? I mean, it could be a million of those things, and we all do them, right? That's the amazing part, but it's the awareness of it, and then ultimately making the choice, because as the enchanter, then if we're not, by the end of the week, we could really start to be aware, if not sooner, but generally through as the week progresses, here through the back half of April 2nd, the marauder is consumed by relentless ambition and isolation. Well, we're starting to see a theme here. Their focus is on personal gain and control and leaves them disconnected from collaboration and vulnerable to burnout. So here we are. We're wandering around. We're just doing stuff. It doesn't have any purpose. We're distracting everybody because realistically, we are over here. We're consumed by just getting it done. Even though we've dropped into isolation, which is what the wanderer and the marauder have in common, they both will generally end up alone, or at least wandering alone aimlessly. But this one has a little, marauder has more of our aggression side. It has more of our ambition coming out of the gladiator realm. Again, and the theme of the gladiator, recall, is ambition, right? Where when we look at the theme of the herald, we're looking at inspiration. So we've got inspiration and ambition coming in here in a collision. The question is, are they colliding? Which is what this is suggesting, is if we're not aware, we'll collide our inspiration, our ambition, and we'll negate it out, as opposed to them coming alongside and forming almost like an arrowhead and a phalanx, like the famous Greek phalanx from Sparta, all moving in the same direction. And now the marauder can move out of this marauding space and ultimately to burn out. Because how often have we just done stuff? We've gone at 100 miles an hour. We've pushed ourselves to the limit, and all of our entire team, we've isolated, we've distracted. We've done all this, and we all just go, everybody needs a couple days off. We have absolutely burned this out, and we burned ourselves out. So this is a really good awareness for us so far. Amazing theme. Let's see what the oracles and our ascension opportunities are going to look like as we go into this week. As you're going over to the ascension box. And again, thank you so much for being a part of this. And if you're a member, thank you, because we go deeper dives into the member side. And if you want to get more into this and learn how to become ultimately a Mystic Persona coach, or how to apply this to your business, your personal life, there's opportunities over there as becoming a member. You always get better looks at videos, first advances, of course, discounts on swag, etc., etc. And if nothing else, like, share, and subscribe, because this is a whole new way for everyone to start applying their personas to their life, and we get to the journey, and it's a living system. This is not just, hey, speculation. This is about looking at ourselves both internally and externally, and of course, choosing our own path. Here we go. You ready? Okay, the Supreme Monarch. Wow. The Glimmerbound. Wow, and the Oracle of Wisdom. Whew. Got some good choices coming this week, Seekers. So here's the deal. I don't think we need to get too much into the Supreme Monarch. This is very simple. When you create a Virtuoso, you are talking about leadership here. We're talking about enlightened visionary. You can see the wisdom that she's holding in her hand, and she is not genderized here. She is all of us, right? But even in this case, it's allowing the wisdom to flow in from the creation of the virtuoso. So we're not just wandering aimlessly. So we have the perfectionism, but it's enlightened perfectionism. It's got the wisdom, but you notice how it's enlightened. It's the light shining through and behind us that comes forward. And of course, that embodies and is the unmatched mastery of leadership, because leadership is about collaboration. It's about not just allowing, although I don't like that word, but we'll use it for this language, in allowing and inviting everyone's mastership to play, because that's what makes a virtuoso and a dream work, is all of the personas working together, the integration of it, but also the external integration so that everybody's mastership is working simultaneously. And they, as the monarch though, you've got to balance authority with humility, because again, this is where the marauders, we can see, we stay in we choose the monarch path of the week, the virtuoso, we're staying in leadership, we're using our wisdom, we're moving through the week. And what happens if we drop down and all of a sudden we enter our marauder space? And it happens all the time. And we can do this in a day, you can do it in an hour, you can do it a week, you can do it over a month, but it's being aware of it. Supreme Monarch is really inviting us as the week starts, or the back half of the week starts here on April 2nd, is how are we leading? Are we leading with control and just wandering to get things done because we got to check off a list to get it done? Or are we truly using part of our the Enchanter to inspire and to bring others wisdom and light to your virtuoso, to your dream, to your business, to your relationship, to your family, to yourself, even in your own experience? Are we inviting this path? So this is an interesting choice pattern as we start the back half of the week here, which then leads us into the dream, ultimately the Dreamcaster, into the glimmer bound. Again, look at the glimmer bound, right? The light is shining from behind. You see the theme here? All three of our oracle paths as the light behind us. The light is behind us. Now we see the wanderer is wandering into the light, and the marauder is coming out of the light with anger and frustration, because again, we get into this isolation thing, we get into the distraction of the trickster, who is completely in the dark. And notice what's lit up most is the dice, which are this beautiful representation of how the trickster uses distraction to say, look over here, look at the dice, don't look at me, don't look at the light, look at what I want you to look at so I can maintain my upper hand. But the glimmer bound is completely in mastery, in balance with clarity, guiding to inspire through literally intentional and engaging storytelling. Now, this is where we're starting to see the glimmer bound is going to tie in and say, look, it's an inspiration which helps us create from our Enchanter point of view. So as we move from the week, we make the choice to move into our oracle, to be more inspiring, not just to ourselves. And again, this isn't a false inspiring, like, oh my God, joy feelings. This is about truly going, it has purpose, because it's perfect that the glitter bound, and the Dreamcaster are in this middle frame here as we go towards the back half of the week, maybe around Thursday or Friday, somewhere in there, probably around Friday is what I'm getting. You see how it works for you. But here's the thing. The glimmer bound teaches that through influence emerges purposeful connection, not just excessive ambiguity. So this is wow, look at this theme. The Dreamcaster, we're coming in, we're creating, we're leading. We have the opportunity to create this dream. We want to make sure we're not wandering. And so we're constantly looking at our wander. Are we wandering just into the light aimlessly without any progress or meaningful outcomes? But here we're looking for these meaningful connections, because that's what it's really about. It's the connections. It's the people that we work with, that we connect with, and in ourselves, our whole integration. This is the meaning of the journey, right? This is the impact. This is the experience. We see this in every journey we go through, whether it's a short chapter or a long game chapter, it doesn't really matter. And that really brings us to the Oracle of Wisdom. Now, the Oracle of Wisdom enlightens, right, and balances intellect with compassion and transforming knowledge into meaningful action. So here's a perfect balance. Look at this. Even if we wander into the Wanderer, we always have the choice to drop in anytime and bring our Oracle of Wisdom. Again, look at the beautiful wisdom, very soft. The light is behind, she's aware of it. But again, walking into the shadows, walking into the darkness, but being by this beautiful light, holding frame and center, and being really clear of the meaningful action and grounding the ideas in reality that lead with both heart and mind. Now that is what the Enchanter is really asking us to do. When we enchant ourselves, we're asking ourselves, are we leading with heart or mind? Now, you're going to bring both, but one of them going forward as the leader of your entire experience here for the back half of the week is really going to be a choice. You can lead with your mind or you can lead with your heart. There's nothing wrong with it. One of them is going to lead. What the Enchanter is saying, let's lead with the heart. Let's move this around. As you can see the themes right here in our core. All of this is about moving our energy. And this is about not coming out of the light and into this is wandering obviously into the light, but the Marauder's coming out of light with anger. This is complete distraction in the shadows. Look over here. But the theme back here is the light behind us is what's really shining through and giving us meaningful connections, because if we're leading with the heart, it can be felt. The words don't necessarily have to be there. In fact, they often aren't. The mind seeks often to put words to it so that we can express in a way beyond the feeling. But isn't it interesting when you can just look at someone, whether it's your significant other, someone of interest, your entire team, when you can look at each other and without words, you have an entire conversation. You could do the same thing, obviously, internally. You can hear it. You can visualize your own persona of your own oracle of wisdom and know that you know that you know, because no one can tell you that you know, you know. You know, it's like the famous line from the movie, The Matrix. No one can tell you you're in love. You just know it. Balls to bones. Quote from the Oracle, the great movie, of course, is The Matrix. So same thing here. So if we look at our thematic here, we have a bunch of energy moving here. Now, what we want to be mindful of this week, Seekers, is that we're not dropping into the shadow, although the shadow is always there. It's not an avoidance of the shadow. It's bringing this in. And it doesn't just necessarily mean internally, although it's always a part of it, right? Because the dual path demands that we're not only looking at our internal, but we also see it external. Because if we're seeing it external, we have an opportunity to make different choices and to lead and to collaborate and to pull and to bring that wisdom of leadership to really pull in these meaningful connections without just, oh, well, it's going to be great, it's going to be awesome, it's going to be fantastic, which sounds really fun at the beginning. But as we get into the details of whatever our journey is, product, experience, service, online, offline, family, your own personal journey, for your own spiritual journey, your own emotional journey, your healing traumatic journey, maybe in just your physical body manifestation, however your week is applying in all aspects of it, we're seeing these themes here. And this really gives us a good solid base plate to understand, well, what choices are we making? Are we leading with our head or are we leading with our heart? Again, there's no judgment in it. But when we lead with our head, there's an often, because if we're not integrating of all of our parts of ourselves, both oracle realm and shadow realm, as well as core, well, guess what? We'll drop into one and we become this kind of singular plane or this singular plane, where here we can weave and bring all of them in. And isn't that really what the Virtuoso is about? Look at the energy here. It's about weaving all of these together. And now it has organization as we look to the future, we look to the light, but we know the light is behind us. So now we're in this beautiful, ice cream sandwich of light, puns intended, right? Where we can use a little bit of our Marauder. Now we use the Marauder to make sure that we're not doing meaningless things. We're just kind of wandering around. But we also want to make sure our Marauder doesn't become, down the deeper path and bring a few other of the shadowistic friends in the Marauder line that could be a little more angry, a little more intense, a little more, And then in case if we're not doing that, then often what we'll do is we'll ask the trickster to come in, because instead of being angry like the lightning shows, the boom, the power and the force, we'll use distraction. It's still the same outcome, which is isolation, moving away from it, and dropping half of us out of the equation, which of course is our oracle selves. So we really get the choice of bringing this all in. And it is a beautiful blend, because as the Enchanter, as the Dreamcaster, the part of us that is really weaving all of this together, that's what makes the Virtuoso part of us so neat, because we're constantly weaving. And I often ask, and I see if this applies to you, Seeker, how often do we say, man, I've got the great dream, but I want somebody else to do it, or I'm going to blame somebody else. I'm not going to take full responsibility for the dream, because it's the dream I choose to go on. And when people don't play the way I want them to play, well, then I'm just going to distract them and I'm just going to destroy it, because, well, I'm really not that interested, because it's got to look a certain way, because my perfectionist of my Virtuoso says so. So I'm just going to stand here and dream and wander into the light and keep you distracted. And I'll never get to this space of enchanting where I'm weaving. So this also, as an undercurrent, check this out. See how this resonates with you. We'll talk more about this on the other side for those of you, the members, and this goes a little bit deeper, is about, well, how do we weave? When do we quit on ourselves and stop weaving? Because your dream is constant. Every one of our dreams is constant. It never stops. The only time it stops is when we transition out of this life, which you commonly know as death. That's a different conversation. This is about weaving. How often and really be mindful of both your trickster and your wanderer working together in cohesion about distracting ourselves and just kind of, not really doing any meaningful progress because we're just kind of wandering out. We've lost connection with ourselves. We've lost connection with dream. We're not taking the responsibility. And that responsibility doesn't have to be heavy. Responsibility means I'm choosing to constantly weave my way through this week by creating and using all aspects. And however you choose to literally create is your choice. That's what makes the Virtuoso in you so unique. That's what makes it so powerful and so connective. And this is what this week is. Wow, this week is a really, really powerful week. I'm super interested to see how it plays out for you. So leave some of your comments below. How did you choose? What did you discover? Where did you apply this? Share the stories, because remember, you may think that you're just sharing for yourself just to make a comment, but remember, everyone else is watching too. And part of being the Virtuoso is be willing to lead. Be willing to put yourself out there. Be willing to put yourself into the connection. But coming from the space of, I'm looking at it all. Because remember, here at MysticPersonas, this is about integration. So every one of us has all of these going on and all of the other personas going simultaneously. But this week, we're really focusing on this theme of moving our energy, weaving and creating the dream that we want, weaving through the shadows and the oracles, and bringing ourselves into this beautiful Virtuoso of all 9 aspects of ourselves in this particular frame. Obviously, there's more, but this is the focus for the back half of the week. This is what the MysticPersonas has brought forward for us to look at and become aware of, and really bring it to this experience of how are we weaving, and most importantly, I think this is the bonus feature, where do we quit on ourselves? Where do we stop weaving? Where do we go back into the distraction of ourselves? Where do we, use humor and play it off, or we start judging ourselves, or someone judges us and we don't want to hear it, or maybe we're not in the right mood. We're just going to go wander off and be by ourselves, and we get a little angry about it. And then, we're looking for our next thing again, and then we're wandering around looking for our next thing that's going to give us that dopamine pop that's going to make us feel like we have meaningful connection. What's the next dream? It's not about the next dream. The dream never stops. You are constantly architecting. You are constantly weaving. The dual path always exists. It never stops. You get to integrate all of these and think how much more powerful now you are becoming. And I don't mean powers and angry, powerful as in here, as in the supreme monarch, where you're bringing this just essence to you. Because I'm not talking about the essence persona. That's a different part of this. I'm talking about this essence as an energy that you're comfortable. And I don't mean comfortable as like, oh my God, I'm so chill, I'm there. I'm talking about comfortable that, hey, both are happening. There are times where I'm going to feel my anger, but how I redirect that, and how do I challenge that, and how do I distract myself from getting into these spaces and just own it. Hey guys, I'm really struggling right now. I'm feeling like I'm burnt out. Can I ask for some help, or would you be willing to take this on for me and to get this done so I can balance myself out a little bit more, or bring this in? Any of those are all perfect examples, and there's a million more. This is what's so powerful about how we are creating. The living blueprint never stops. Living is the key word here, seeker. Living. It constantly moves. Just because you think you're ignoring the trickster doesn't mean the trickster's not in your head. How often do we have these beautiful joy feelings? We feel great. We're on point. Everything's flowing. All of a sudden we have this one thought. That's our trickster trying to get our attention. Say, hey, where are we still trying to maintain the other upper hand? Where have we not fully integrated ourselves? And where are we not fully integrating other people in? Where are we keeping people out? Where are we distracting them? Where are we creating drama where maybe the drama doesn't exist and isn't necessary? Again, this is what the week is looking like. So far, it's fantastic. Please like, share, subscribe. It really helps the channel. It continues to grow as we push the living blueprint out into the world so that everyone has an opportunity to be the virtuoso of their own life, create the living blueprint that they want, constantly choosing and weaving, and remember to wake up from the dream of the trickster and the distractions and stop wandering off aimlessly and getting upset when we don't get exactly what we want because we chose to go to sleep and not stay into our wisdom and stay focused on our dream, and to enchant ourselves and others into this beautiful thing that you are weaving and creating into the world. And thank you for creating that, and thank you for doing that, and thank you for dreaming. And I leave you with this. Ask yourself this one question. How often have you stopped dreaming and changed it in for something like hope? Or how often you change in your dreaming, just getting things done, to pay the bills, to just do this? And I understand we all have it. But get to look at that. And again, like, share, subscribe. Thank you for being a member. The book is out. If you'd like to get it, please order it. It will walk you through the living blueprint here in the Mystic Personas, and I will see you next week right here.